objective for this case study is to determine food processing of bread in Gardenia involving food stage, division, and also its improvement.
Before going to further information, I'm going to present about history behind Gardenia. So Gardenia was began as a small in-store bakery at Bukit Timah Plaza in 1978, which making a variety of bread with the help of an expert American baker, which is Horatio C. Slocum, who had 35 years of experience in the bakery business. In 1981, the production was fast increasing and they planned to make the commercial bakery become larger. A commercial bakery was started in March 1983 at Pandan Loop, which produced 2,000 loaves per hour. The concept had changed from a central bakery supplying a variety of products to a single-minded concentration on producing a white sandwich loaf for supplying all retail outlets. Gardenia gained popularity when softer texture, tastier flavored, and enriched bread was produced with modern packaging and good marketing. In August 1983, Gardenia built a modern bakery that used the latest processing techniques. Then, Thailand joined Gardenia in 1987 and the first Gardenia bakery was established in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in 1991.
In June 1993, a second bakery with an 8,000 loaf per hour capacity was opened in Singapore. To keep up with the rising demand and the current baking technology, a large sum of money was invested in the construction of this new state-of-the-art bakery. This new Gardenia bakery in Singapore, which cost 18.5 million, improved the manufacturing capacity by 2.5 times without sacrificing the quality of the products. In 1994, Gardenia opened the second bakery in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. In 1996, Gardenia grew by opening a new bakeries in China and India. In 1997, Gardenia expanded its regional operation to the Philippines. Gardenia also bought a third bakery in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. In 1999, Gardenia invested in the fourth bakery in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. In 2001, Bonjour was purchased by the Gardenia. After Gardenia, Bonjour is now the second most popular packed loaf bread in Singapore. Gardenia also has opened its fifth bakery in Bukit Kemuning in Malaysia. In 2002, Gardenia opened a new bakery in the Philippines. In the present, despite the fierce competition between the company, Gardenia has maintained the market leader to this day. They say locally about the company numerous are those efforts to ensure that the products are always a cut above the others.
Next, I'm going to explain how Gardenia's bread were produced. So the first step is the automatic blending process. The production process will begin with a computerized blending of the exact amount of quality ingredients needed. This helps to ensure equal goodness in every loaf. The second step is the production of sponge mix. The specially formulated Gardenia with enriched flour, purified water, yeast, vitamins and minerals are added together to form the sponge, which is released into the trough. The third step is the fermentation room. So the sponge dough is then kept in the fermentation room with under control temperature and humidity for at least 4 hours so that the carbon dioxide is released and the sponge can rise. This fermentation process helps the sponge to develop a unique Gardenia bread texture, aroma and taste. The fourth step is the production of dough mix. At this stage, the sponge is mixed again with other ingredients to form the dough. Depending on the type of bread, this can include skim milk powder, vegetable shortening, wheat germ, bran, malt or honey. The fifth process is the divider process, which the dough is then divided into the required weight for each loaf and then conveyed into a rounder. The sixth process is the rounder process. So after the dough becoming a nice round shaped dough, so each piece of dough is then kneaded so that the carbon dioxide is trapped and the bread can develop a soft texture when it is baked.
Check wigger. The dough pieces go through the check wigger here. Pieces that are over or under the required weight are automatically rejected.
For number 8, intermediate, prefer that dough is then left to rest in the intermediate profile for 10 minutes before being molded or placed in the baking pans. Next is molder. Here the dough is shaped according to the desired configuration and then automatically placed into the pans. For number 10, automatic leader. The pans are leaded automatically to give the bread its uniform rectangular shape. For number 11, final proofer. At this final proofer stage, the yeast is allowed to rise further under controlled temperature and humidity. Once the dough has risen to the desired height, it is finally ready for baking.
The 12th step is a tunnel oven. In the state-of-the-art tunnel oven, the Gardenia bread baked for around 20 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. The 20th step is the automatic delinder and a depaner. Fresh out of the ovens, vacuum section is used to extract the freshly baked loaf before they are transported to a bread cooler. The 40th step is a bread cooler. This bread chiller has a capacity of 8,000 loaves per hour. Before packaging, the freshly baked and hot bread loaf must be kept in the cooler for about an hour until slightly above the room temperature. The 15th step is the automatic slicer and bagger. When the loaf has cooled sufficiently, they can be sliced, wrapped, and placed in the attractive Gardenia packaging that is mechanically sealed with the quick lock stacks that have the expiry date written on them. The last step is the daily delivery. Gardenia start preparing for its delivery 364 days a year at 3 a.m. when most people are still sleeping. Freshly baked bread are loaded into the Gardenia fleet of delivery trucks 7 days a week and distributed to the thousands of retail locations around the country.
My name is NOORZAFIRAH Binti FAUZI, and I will present about ingredients used in making bread, which is yeast. Introduce the characteristics of yeast. Yeast are actually microbial eukaryotes which belong to ascomyces that are good source of vitamin B and protein. Yeast are plant-like unicellular fungi thriving on every living organism. Being living organism, fungi require warmth, water, albumin or nitrogenous material and sugars to remain alive. Secondly, yeast are typically spherical, oval or cylindrical in shape and a single cell of Saccharomyces cerevisiae around 8 micrometer in diameter. Every cell has a double-layered wall which is porous to certain substances, and in this way food fabric is taken into the cell and metabolites leave it. Lastly, yeast is made up of many tiny single-celled plants which grow by budding and each bud breaking away from the parent cell and forming new buds. To know how yeast is working. Yeast is an extremely important ingredient in the production of bread. Yeast is a single-cell fungus and acts as a leavening agent in the rising of dough for baking. A secondary contribution of yeast to bread is flavoring and aroma. The yeast used for bread manufacturing is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Saccharose means sugar and myces meaning fungus. It often refers to a simply baker's yeast. Yeast cells consume the fermentable sugars present in dough and generate carbon dioxide and ethanol that are responsible for dough leavening during the fermentation phase and the oven rise. This is the formula. This process of bread making being the most commonly associated with yeast. Baker's yeast has its ability to make dough rise and produce loaves of good height, texture, and also the flavor. Condition of yeast. Yeast will be stored in a cool or dry place such as fridge at least 1 to 3 degrees Celsius for a limited period of time to get successful fermentation process and last longer. Warm temperatures are needed, optimum 25 to 30 degrees Celsius during at fermentation room so that carbon dioxide is released and sponge can rise. Water also is used to disperse the yeast and dissolve other materials.
My name is AMALINA Binti KAMAL, and I will present the raw material of one of the most important ingredient in the Gardenia bread, which is the flour. Okay, first I will explain the characteristic of the flour. The flour used in the Gardenia bread is a wet flour. Wet flour is the main ingredient of the Gardenia bread, composed of the protein, lipids, sugar, starch, and enzymes. Mix of the components. The two main key of these components are the starch and the proteins, because they interspret with the millions of the tiny air bubbles that makes the bread become delicious. Wheat flour contains 70% of starch. The starch granules absorb water in irreversible way, causing the starch granules to swell. As a result, this process forms the physical structure of the bread and give a good texture. The next main component of wheat is a protein. There are two proteins in the dry flour, which is the glutenin and gliadin. They absorb the water and form gluten when the dough is mixed. What is a gluten? Gluten is a net consists of powder and a coil of protein strands that hold the bread together. During the fermentation, carbon dioxide produced and the gluten trapping the tiny gas air bubbles, causing the dough to rise. The stronger the gluten, the more water it will be absorbed. The strength of the gluten can depend upon the protein contents of the flour. Okay, next, I will explain about the food biochemistry of the wheat flour. In the production of the wheat flour, all parts of kernel, or known as the wheat grains, are used. Wheat grain consists starchy endosperm around 85%, several other layers around 20%, and the rest are the embryo plants around 2%. The starchy endosperm act as a food storage. In order to produce a qualified flour, the milling process must be carried out because this process can separate the endosperm from the other kernel portions. What is the milling process? Milling process clean the wheat kernels, separate, and then split open by a pair of the rolls. The refined particles, or known as a bread flour, are sealed up at the back. The pieces of the bran with endosperm and the semolina, which is a cluster of particles of the endosperms attached to the rolls. The semolina reduces the size of the flour to result to the bran to separate from each other. The residual number of the briny particles can determine the grade of the flour.
My name is Fakhirah Binti Roslan, and I'm going to present about last main ingredient, which is water. One of the characteristics of water is water need to use chemical content such as chlorine to kill dangerous germs like bacteria, virus, and parasites. Chlorine is one of the chemicals that will have an impact on the dough, especially the fermentation activity. As a result, yeast is a natural microbe that is susceptible to chlorine. Tests have revealed that at a chlorine level of 10 ppm in the water, yeast function in a dough system is negatively affected. A high chlorine content may also disrupt the activity of other flour components such as the enzyme. Next, the mineral composition of the water will determine its hardness and softness. Calcium, magnesium, and also sodium are the most important elements. Hard water includes a high concentration of minerals, while soft water contains less minerals. Minerals are used as nutrition by yeast and influence fermentation activity for dough quality, making it stronger or weaker. For example, hard water will give faster fermentation and a firmer texture in the bread, while soft water gives delayed fermentation and a weaker texture. The water will process through a reverse osmosis system. During the reverse osmosis purification process, a semi-permeable membrane is used to remove ions and unwanted particles. This process can remove both chemicals and bacteria, resulting in potable water which is safe for foods and beverage production. The permeable membrane will filter contaminants through a process called size exclusion, where particles of a specific size cannot pass through. That's all from me.
Hi, my name is NOORZAFIRAH binti ZAHALI, and I'm going to present about the flaws of the company. From business perspective, the first flaw is Gardenia only use raw materials imported from overseas. Even though the raw materials imported from overseas are more high of quality, it may be risk because it can lead to a huge problem if some technical issues happen, like the delay of the transportation that transport the raw materials. And by that, it can affecting the performance of the production of the products. The next flaw from business perspective is Gardenia factory only operates in Peninsula of Malaysia. This means there is no Gardenia factory in East Malaysia. East Malaysians can't enjoy the Gardenia products as much as Peninsula Malaysians. This flaw can lead to problems from customers' perspective, which AZIRA will elaborate more on this.
So for now, I'm going to continue the presentation about the vision and improvement of Gardenia. As we already discussed before, there are several problems or challenges where the Gardenia has to face, which is insufficient amount of Gardenia factory or branches in East Malaysia, which is Sabah and Sarawak. As we already know, mostly Gardenia factories situate or located in West Malaysia, or we call it as Semenanjung. It is because the Gardenia branch located in Semenanjung are working under different operation and management. The West Gardenia operation work under Gardenia Bakery Kuala Lumpur Sdn Bhd or GBKL, while East Gardenia work under Gardenia Food Industry. This separation management happened because they want to prevent cross-selling between each side. Other than that, the Gardenia product in East Malaysia much more different from the other side, which Gardenia product sold in Semenanjung. Based on the customer perspective who have been living in East Malaysia, they claim that the Gardenia product from Semenanjung much better and tastier than the product which already produced and sold by local factory. However, Gardenia product from Semenanjung are really expensive and overpriced when they sell it in Sabah and Sarawak. Sometimes, the product price are 3 times more expensive than the actual price. It is because the company need to cover the cargo fee to deliver those products within 3 to 4 days, so the product will remain good and fresh for customer consumption. Now we move to the improvement for Gardenia company. In order to solve this problem, Gardenia need to build more factory and branches and focus their operation place in Malaysia first, especially Sabah and Sarawak. Other than that, Gardenia company need to redo and rearrange their management and company policy. It is important to create more flexibility on both sides. From that, Gardenia can improve the quality of product and management system. Next, Gardenia need to make sure the progress of raw materials shipment from overseas or outside the country runs smoothly to ensure the quality of goods is guaranteed. And lastly, Gardenia also can expand their market to the rest of the world. Maybe they can start promoting their business from Asia country first before pursue their business to other continents. From that, people will recognize Gardenia brand more frequently. Gardenia brand also will get more recognition and gain more profit from the worldwide other than before.
To wrap it all up, Gardenia is such a great brand and company. They put priority both on quality and quantity of the products. Moreover, the price of their products is reasonable and affordable, and they know how to take the lead in the industry by producing variety types of breads which fits customers' taste and demand. That's all from us. Thank you very much for paying attention throughout the video.